Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Legends of Basketball podcast. My name is Eldridge Ricazzer, and I'm your host. And today, my special guest is none other than my former teammate with the Charlotte Hornets, the North Carolina legend, Mr. George Lynch. I hadn't seen G in a minute. He's got the white beard, ladies and gentlemen, like he's been on the mountaintop with Moses by the burning bush.
Hey, man. I'm here in Charlotte, man. It's a short drive to the mountains, so it's getting cold up there. I got to
Oh,
keep it
G, good
warm,
seeing you,
man.
man. Good seeing you. It's
You
been a minute
too.
since I talked to you, bro. Yeah.
Yeah,
Everything is
I
good on
think it
your
what
end?
what the last time we talked was the Final Four in Minnesota, wasn't it?
New Orleans.
New Orleans.
New
Yeah,
Orleans.
yeah,
Final
yeah.
Four in New Orleans when I was sitting in y'all section. Yeah, that's right, man. Yeah. Always good to see you, bro. So,
You too,
ladies and
man.
gentlemen, George Lynch is originally from Roanoke, Virginia, I believe. He went to the University of North Carolina and played for the Tar Heels from 1989 to 1993. Won a national championship in 1993. He was drafted in the first round of the NBA, the number 12 pick in the first round to the Los Angeles Lakers. And like I said, he was my teammate in Charlotte. I believe it was 2001, 2002. One of the great guys, man. And I really mean this, always a cool cat. We kind of hit it off from the first time that we met, but he's going to share some of his memories of probably the biggest, not probably it is, the biggest rivalry in all of college basketball. The University of North Carolina plays Duke on February 1st. So this is a preview show, just giving you guys an inside look from one of Carolina's own legends, what it was like to play in this Duke versus Carolina game. And I'll just kick it off right there, George. Just let the fans know what it was like, man. I mean, I'm on the West Coast, but you always heard about Duke. You always heard about Carolina. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it's 10 miles separating you guys on Tobacco Road.
Yeah, less than that. I think it's 8 or 9
Okay,
that
8 or 9
separates the
miles,
two.
and then of course NC
Yeah.
State is in that triangle as well. But why don't we just start it off with you telling the fans, what it was like back in your era?
In my era, it was great. Both teams were Final Four bound. Duke had won it, what, 92 and 91 back to back.
Yep.
And, you know, one of the reasons that I went to Chapel Hill was Coach Smith's recruiting pitch was, you know, you come here, you'll graduate, and you'll have a chance to win a national championship. And that's all I wanted, playing in being from Virginia and watching ACC at the time, as a youngster, as a teenager, ACC and the Big East was probably two of the biggest conferences in college basketball. And you know, my five choices came down to Georgetown, Maryland, Virginia, Virginia Tech, and North Carolina.
Wow.
And we all know what happened with the Lynch bias situation in
Yeah.
Maryland. So that was actually my first choice.
Maryland.
But
Okay.
unfortunately, they never recovered from the whole Lynch bias,
Yeah.
you know, accident. And then, you know, playing my high school ball in the Northern Virginia area, I had opportunity to spend a lot of time on Georgetown's campus, which is, a small private Catholic school, and it didn't have the large campus feel that I was looking for.
Yeah. But
So
legendary Coach Thompson, man. I think every black kid in America, at least I know I did, wanted to play for Georgetown. So I'm surprised to hear you say you passed on them and went to Carolina. But I guess Carolina is one of the top basketball schools in the country. But in the mid '80s, George, as you well know, being from Virginia, Georgetown was it, man. Especially when they had
yeah,
Patrick
yeah.
Ewing. I think by the time you came out, would you have played with Allen Iverson at all if you had gone to Georgetown?
No, he was a couple years after that. I would have
Okay,
played with Alonzo and Mutombo. So funny story. Coach. Well, I wouldn't say it's a funny story, but it was out of respect that Dean Smith and John Thompson wouldn't recruit the same kids.
really? Wow, I never
Yeah,
knew
because
that.
so when I was at prep school at Flint Hill Prep, Ronnie Thompson was the senior. So I spent half a year, you know, in the classroom with Ronnie Thompson and playing pickup ball.
Okay,
Yeah. So, but because I had North Carolina and Georgetown on my list, you know, and back then John was different on recruiting. Like if you don't say you going to go to Georgetown, he kind of didn't go out of his way to recruit. He felt
Yeah,
that if he could recruit just DC, the DMV area, he you know, he could build a powerhouse.
he wasn't gonna beg you either from the sounds of it. Either you were in
Right,
or
right.
yeah, I hear
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. So it worked out for me. Going to Chapel Hill was a great experience. I got to play for legendary, Dean Smith, and you know the myth was bigger than I could have ever imagined. Being in Virginia watching ACC basketball, I grew up watching um, Virginia Cavaliers and Carolina play when they had Ralph Sampson and Sam Perkins and all
Oh
those
yeah,
guys.
yeah,
And then and my dad was a big time, he was a big basketball fan and big, he everybody respected, Coach Smith because he brought Charlie Scott into the ACC and all the things that he was doing, kind of with the civil rights.
yeah,
So, just hearing the stories on, when you're young, you're running in and out of the house, you're going to the park, and my stepdad would say, he would say all these great things about Dean Smith, and then when I had a chance to go on a visit there, it was like being in the presence of, some Greek goddess figure. It was unbelievable. And you know, even my 4 years playing for Coach Smith, being a pro going into the NBA, I was still always intimidated when he was in my presence.
yeah, yeah.
And it was just, you know,
Well,
you can
anytime,
never get
George,
over it.
anytime you get an arena named after you and you're still living and you're still coaching at the damn school, you know you gotta be a bad boy. Because I don't know if you know this, George, but in 1986, 1988, I believe it was. No, 1986. So
Uh-huh.
1986, 87, I think I participated in the U.S. Olympic Festival. I don't know if you remember that. When they used to
Yeah.
invite a lot of the high school guys and a lot of the first year players in college to the U.S. Olympic Festival, and it was held in the Dean Smith Center. And I believe we were
Wow.
the first event to play in there. It was guys like Ramil Robinson, Terry Mills, Sean Higgins. I just remember seeing all those guys for the first time. They were all Street and Smith's All Americans, McDonald's All Americans. But we were the first team to play in the Dean Smith Center, man. And I remember saying to myself, damn, he got to be a hell of a coach because he's still alive and he's still at North Carolina and they named an arena after. So I can't imagine, what it was like to play for somebody like that, man, of that magnitude. But gee, how cool was it for you to? Because Carolina, excuse my language, folks, but Carolina was the shit. Obviously
Yeah.
in 82, they won a national championship. You guys won a national championship in 1993. But how pumped were you, man, when Dean Smith reached out to you and told you that he wanted to offer you a scholarship? Because this is pre-NIL. I don't know if you got paid, but if you did, it wasn't through NIL.
Yeah. I wish I'd have got paid. Hey, so before I went to Flint Hill Prep, I was at Patrick Henry High School in Roanoke, and my guidance counselor played at Carolina, Dick Kepley,
Okay.
and I think he might have been married to either one of Coach Smith's daughters or Bill Guffey's daughter.
Oh,
Can't
wow.
remember,
Okay.
but he would see me in the hallway. And he was always dig at me saying you need to put Carolina on your recruiting list. And at this time I wasn't I wasn't I was top 25, but I'm not for sure if I was on Carolina's list as a
Yeah.
junior or as a sophomore going into my junior year. But he had told, you know, Coach Smith about me as a player. And then I think Phil Ford snuck in the gym and watched the game. And then the question was, because we had five guys on that team go D1.
From your
Curtis
high school
Blair, who
team?
Yeah. So Curtis
Wow.
Blair, who's an NBA official, he played at the University of Richmond. Um, um, Percy Covington played at VMI. Um, and then I think Melvin Davis went to Converse or Spartanburg College. And then we had a football player, Bernard Basham, who played football and had a chance to play basketball at Virginia Tech.
Okay.
Uh, so we had a nice team. I mean, I was one of the shorter guys. I was six. I might have been 6'6", and I was one of the smaller forwards. We had the
You
point
said you was
the
one of the
point guard.
smaller guys. Did you
Yeah,
run?
yeah.
Did you? What position did you play in high school, G? Because I know you. I know you as a
I was
small forward.
I was a small forward. That's what I'm
Okay.
saying. I was on the wing. You know, we had Russell Turner who's the coach at UC
You
Irvine.
see Irvine. Yeah, I'm about to say I know that
Yeah,
name. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
Russ and Russ is about 6'6", 6'5", 6'7". Uh, Bernard Basham was 6'7". Um, the other forward, Melvin Davis, he might have been like 6'4", 6'5". He played more of the power forward. And then Percy was 6'4", and Curtis Blair was 6'4". That was our starting lineup.
Y'all had a big lineup though. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Kind
yeah.
of like
And it was all
Illinois
local
back when
guys.
they had Kendall Gill and Kenny Battle, all those guys around between 6'4" and 6'6". Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So playing at Carolina was a great experience. It was unbelievable walking in there the first time as a recruit and seeing all that Carolina blue. And at the time, it was so I would have taken a visit in 88, 89. So at the time the arena had only been open for like 3 years.
3 years. Yeah.
And it
Yep.
was, yeah, and so it was the newest arena in the ACC and the biggest.
Because before that, what we played at Carmichael, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
87, I think.
Yeah.
87 or 86 was the last game at Carmichael.
So by that time, George, Duke was kind of turning in. They weren't quite, I remember Duke when they had Johnny Dawkins, Tommy
Yeah.
Amaker, Mark Allery,
Uh-huh.
those guys kind of at the
Yeah.
beginning of Coach K's thing. But by the time you got there, Robert Brickey, Thomas Hill, Phil Henderson, because we played them. I want to say we played them in 88 and 89.
Uh-huh.
So your
Yeah.
freshman year, we played them at Duke, and that year they had Christian Leitner was a
Yep.
freshman. They had Bobby Hurley. But just what was it like, man? Do you guys like y'all really hate each other, or is that just some
I
TV hype?
think I think back then before social media, the hate was there. I mean, even on the visit, King Rice,
King
and
Rice.
I don't know if King Rice or it was the class before him, but King was like, they better not come on our campus. You know what I'm saying? Like we back then we were the campus with the cool bars and restaurants. So all the girls from State and Wake Forest and they would all come to Chapel Hill. And King and the football players was like, they better not come on our campus.
I was about to say, man, being only 8 miles apart, you guys had to run into
Yeah.
each other at some parties and stuff. So I know there had
Yeah.
to be
So
some tension, or like I said, is it, Dick Vitale, I think if Dick Vitale kind of took it to another level because when he was on ESPN in his prime, that's all the hell I got tired of hearing about y'all, George. I ain't gonna lie. I got tired of
yeah.
hearing about Duke and Carolina, man, because that's all he talked about on ESPN. But I didn't really know if you guys just really hated each other. Because what? Ala Abdinabi should have been on that team your freshman year. Like I said,
Yeah,
Christian Laettner, Bobby Hurley.
it was a la Robert Brickey, Bobby Hurley, Christian Leitner, Thomas Hill, Lang,
Yep. Andrew Lane. Yep.
and McCaffrey, I think.
McCaffrey. Okay, so who was with you at Carolina during that time?
So my freshman year was Scott Williams, King Rice, Rick Fox,
Rick Fox.
uh,
All right.
Hubert Davis,
Hubert Davis. Yep. Yep.
and then my class was Henrik Rodo, Matt Winstrom, Kevin Salvadori, and Scott Cherry.
Now, ain't that something? I don't remember none of them guys.
Yeah, Matt
I was
Matt
in,
Winstrom was a McDonald's All American. Remember, he got Player of the Year over Shaq in San Antonio,
well, he
In
didn't do
Texas.
nothing
I
in
mean,
college, did he?
Nah, he didn't, man. He turned into a frat boy.
I was about to say because I don't remember that name. G, I remember King
Yeah,
Rice.
that's
I
that.
remember all
Hey,
those other
man,
guys. Yeah,
shoot,
yeah, yeah.
we had 3 7-footers and a 6'10" guy. You know, Scott Williams was 6'10". I think he might have been he was a senior and he was the shortest. So we had Kevin Madden. Kevin Madden was on that team. Uh, but it was great because we went into Duke my freshman year. We beat them at Duke. We beat them,
No way.
or was it, or was it my sophomore year? We beat them twice.
With Leitner and
Uh,
Ricky and
yeah,
Hurley, y'all
yeah.
beat
I
them.
think yeah. We beat them. We beat them twice my sophomore year, and then we were all at the Final Four. In we lost to Kansas,
Okay.
and they lost. They
That should have
did
been
they?
a what, a Kevin Pritchard team at Kansas, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It
Yep.
was Rex Walters,
Rex
Kevin Pritchard.
Walters,
Nah,
yep.
yeah. Adonis was Adonis Jordan on that team.
No, Adonis is younger. I think he came a little later, I believe. But I could be wrong. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
hold on, Jay.
But yeah,
I just want to give the fans some perspective. So on February 1st, this is going to be the 262nd meeting between North Carolina and Duke. Carolina has the edge, 145 wins to Duke's 117. Carolina's got the biggest margin of victory ever, 53 points back in 1921. Carolina's got the longest win streak, 16 games in a row from 1921 to 1928. The last meeting last year, March 9th, 2024, Carolina won 84-79, and Carolina has won the last two. So just a lot of history, and like I said, the biggest rivalry in college basketball. And George, I just want to know, what was it like going in the camera, man? So I know the fans hated y'all because hell, they hated
oh
us.
yeah,
And
oh
we
yeah.
came way from the West
You
Coast.
know, those fans were so well prepared as far as knowing every player's stats. If you were in the newspaper, they knew about that. They did their research, and
They knew
and
everybody's stats.
yeah,
Damn.
and then no matter how cold it was outside, it was 105 degrees in the gym.
I gotta say this, G. The first time I went to Cameron in the 1989-90 season, man, I gotta be honest, I was disappointed because you see it on TV and it's packed and it's all hyped up, but I just didn't think in '89 that it was a really nice facility. That you, or maybe they just had us in the crappy visitors locker room. I don't know, but it wasn't
Uh,
like the
oh
Dean
yeah,
Smith
yeah.
Center.
Everybody got that. Everybody got that same treatment, man. I don't know what it looks like now, the facilities, but yeah, they gave you the smallest locker room. The gym was,
I remember
you
the
know,
low ceilings, man. I felt like I was in somebody's basement or something. I was like, damn,
yeah.
this is Cameron Indoor? What the hell is this?
I know that's like when in the league you go to the Boston Garden, you be like, man, this the Garden.
So
So
who was your toughest matchup? Who did you guard on, Duke? Who would you say the toughest guy was for you to guard?
so I was matched up a lot of times with either Thomas Hill or Lang because I was more of a four when I got to Carolina because Rick Fox was the wing and Hubert Davis.
Now
And then
did
so my minute,
Rick Fox shoot up all the balls like he did when I went to the Boston Celtics camp that one time? I don't think he
oh
passed the
yeah,
ball one time, man.
oh yeah, nah, he was shooting them up, man. You know, and at the time we probably needed him to shoot him up because
Yeah,
you know Hubert was coming into his own,
yeah.
and then you know King Rice wouldn't shoot the ball back then. So
King Rice was your typical point guard though. Run the
yeah,
show, get
yeah,
everybody else involved. Yeah, I remember King coming out of high school, George. I remember it like it was yesterday, man. He was the most hyped point guard that year when he came out of high school, signed with Carolina. I don't think
yeah.
he went on to have the type of career at Carolina that everybody thought he was going to have because I think everybody thought he was going to be a Magic Johnson, Chris Jackson type of dude, and it never worked out that way. Obviously, he never made it to the NBA. And if I'm not mistaken, last I heard he was a college coach at like a mid major. Is he still there?
Yeah, he's at Monmouth University. He's
Mama,
doing a
there you
great
go.
job.
Yep,
I think, yeah,
yep,
he's doing a great job.
yeah.
Man, you brought back Chris Jackson, man. That's hard to compare, man.
Well, that's the kind of hype he was getting coming out. You know,
Wow.
G, that's the kind of hype he was getting coming out of high school, man. There was another guy named Fess Irvin. I don't know if you remember him. He signed with LSU all around that same time. But King
Uh-huh.
Rice came out with a lot. He came out with a lot of hype, man. Kind of like Cooper Flag right now at Duke. He was getting that kind of hype coming out of high school. Now I don't know
Wow.
what he
Wow.
was like as a high school player, but he was definitely hyped up. Yeah,
Well, he had, they say he was a better football player, and he had that football body.
really.
So I
I
could
never knew
see
he was a
him as
football player.
yeah, I could see him as a high school senior being stronger and tougher than all the guards.
Yeah,
Yeah, I could
yeah,
see that. Yeah.
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 He was the man, man. Coming to high school, he was the truth. Yeah, yep. He sure
Yeah.
was. Yeah. So tell me, what's
But
your perspective on the current day Carolina team? You look like you guys keeping in the family. And I just want to say this. You mentioned Charlie Scott. I had a chance to have a talk with Charlie Scott about 2 years ago at our NBA Retired Players Association summer conference in Vegas. And I asked him, I said, well, I hear you were the first black player at North Carolina. And he said, I was the first black player in the South, period, of all the
yeah.
conferences. So, yeah, you
Yep.
got to take your
Yep.
hat off to Dean Smith, man. He had that vision to try to give, black athletes an opportunity because nobody else would before he let
Right.
Charlie Scott there. Then the door just kicked open, and you guys have had so many great players, man. Obviously, Michael Jordan is the one that everybody remembers, but Sam Perkins, Brad Doherty, oh man, I mean the list just goes on
Yeah.
and
Kenny
on.
Kenny Smith. Yeah,
Kenny
those
Smith,
years, those
yep,
years in the
yep.
80s, J.R. Reed. Yeah.
J.R.
It
Reed,
was
yeah. Big
yeah.
JR, yeah, man. Just Scott
Yeah.
Williams, there's a lot of guys that went on to play in the NBA from the University of North Carolina. But give me your perspective if you keep up with it, G, on the current day Carolina team. I see you guys are number 7 in ACC right now, record of 13-9, 6-4 in league play. So I'm just gonna let you know, G, you my boy and all, but I'm putting my money on Duke because hell, they 10-0 in conference. 18-2 overall. So I'm thinking, I know the record doesn't mean anything in this game because anytime you got a rivalry game, you're playing for pride and you're playing for bragging rights. But just give me your perspective on the current day Tar Heels.
It's this whole NIL and transfer portal, and I don't know how coaches do it. Uh, you know, 1 minute I'm frustrated with the current staff because you look at our situation and we got 4 guards, they all the same size, and then but with kids having the freedom to transfer, and then nowadays kids don't. Sorry about that. Kids don't play for the name on the front of their jersey. They play for the name on the back.
Oh,
Which
they're trying to get
now,
paid. See, I mean, it's long overdue, but I agree with you 100%. You might have a Cooper Flag or a George Lynch this year, and hell, next year there's someone else. Look at the Love kid that played for you guys a few years ago that made the Final Four, transferred to Arizona. So you just never know, man.
yeah, yeah, and it's I think it's tough for a coach in today's environment if he doesn't have the resources in the budget that most of these, especially the schools
What
in
you
the
mean
SEC.
resources and budget? Y'all Carolina, y'all got more damn money. Y'all got more
No,
money than
man,
anybody. Y'all
it
got the
it all
most famous alumni to ever play basketball.
man.
Hell,
Look, it's all where it all depends on priorities, man.
Mike
You
Mike
know,
ain't writing no checks for the program like Phil Knight at Oregon. Mike ain't doing that.
nah, man, nah. And you know how Mike is, man. Mike be like, why should I pay them kids? They ain't better than me.
Well, if that's the case, he ain't gonna pay no damn body because ain't nobody better than him. Shoot.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Oh
so,
man.
so I think it's tougher, man. And then we lost some great coaches, Jay Wright, Tony
Yeah.
Bennett. You
Yeah.
know, so under the circumstances, as an alumni, you hate to see 6, 9 losses in the loss column, and to see us, I think sometimes as a Carolina alum, you can be spoiled and you can feel privileged sometimes thinking that,
What do you mean
you
sometimes?
know,
Y'all been the daughter of the goddamn college basketball for Hell, for 100 damn years. What
Yeah,
do you
yeah, I
mean?
know, man.
People
I
don't
know.
talk about college basketball without talking about Carolina, Duke, Kentucky, and Kansas. I think
Yeah,
that's the blue bloods, in my opinion. UCLA used to be
right.
back in there in the John Wooden era, but they've kind of fell off a little bit. But you guys, you might have a down year every now and then, and 13-9, yeah, that's not to Carolina standards, but I wouldn't suspect that Hubert Davis is on the hot seat, is he?
I have no idea. You hear both stories, and you know, like I said, Bubba came out and said he's supporting Hubert, but you don't know what the board of trustees or who's making the decisions, who hired Bubba. Because I know for a fact, at least from former players that I talked to, everyone is frustrated.
Yeah,
And not that we're frustrated at Hubert, we're just frustrated that, you know, we're not able to win some of the top recruits that we're other schools are able to, you know, I heard we lost out on a kid on a center this year because we didn't have $1.2 million to pay him.
that's what they're getting, G. We,
So
we got a
yeah,
kid at
yeah,
the University of Washington. His name is Great Osobor. He's getting $2 million a year, man. And I'm just saying to
yeah.
myself, damn, $2 million a year. But see y'all were paying when nobody else was paying, G. That's the problem. And not that everybody's paying. Y'all done lost y'all edge a little bit. I think that's what it is.
Hey man, it's time to get a new facility, man. We got to get these kids want to see the bells and whistles.
Yeah.
And they want the bells and whistles, they want to be paid, they want to play, and they all want to score 30.
So G, what was it like? What was it like in Chapel Hill, man? I mean, because like I said, Carolina, what was it like being on campus when you're playing for Carolina? That's got to
It
be
was
like, I'm imagining all the honeys was on your tip, man. Because you was the man on the squad, won a national championship in
Hey man, I
'93.
went hey I went to school with Rick Fox was getting all the girls.
Pretty boy had all the
Yeah,
women.
no, but it was great. It wasn't, Coach Smith made sure that we traveled first class, we ate in the best restaurants. The seniors would get the opportunity to choose where we ate, what hotels we stayed in. And I remember we were going to New York, and King Rice had family coming to town, and he didn't want to go to, one of the fine restaurants, and he wanted to make it quick.
Yeah.
And he picked, I can't remember what it was, to me, it was fine. When you're a college student, you eat wherever they put some food in front of you. But the restaurant wasn't to the standard of Dean
Of Coach
Smith.
Smith. Yeah. Yeah.
We had already sat down and ordered. Coach Smith come in and say, "You guys sure you want to eat here? We could eat. We could eat in restaurants. We could eat in any restaurant in the city. Why did you guys choose this place?" It was crazy to me being in New York for the first time as a freshman and being able to eat at any restaurant in New York. I was satisfied.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the food was good. You can go anywhere in New York and get some good
And
food.
get some good grub. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, but King wanted to get in and out so he can go hang out with his family
With his
before
family. Yeah.
curfew.
Yeah.
Yeah, and which was understandable, but Coach Smith didn't play that. He was like, I wouldn't take you guys anywhere I wouldn't eat at.
What would you say was the most important thing that he taught you, George? And I'm not just talking about basketball, but perhaps maybe it was about life. Because, we all see all the stories on Coach Smith, but it's all basketball related. What would you say was the most valuable lesson you learned from Coach Smith?
I remember I can't remember what it might have been my sophomore year. Maybe no, it might have been my junior year. On campus, they were trying to get a black um, they had centers for everybody else but black student. They were trying to get a black student center. And the one they had was small, it wasn't sufficient enough for the number of students and the number of black and minority students on campus. And we were all trying to there was a protest on campus, and some people came up to me because I was one of the you know, stars on the team and asked me if I would, stand in on the protest. So I asked Coach Smith, and he said, listen, don't do it because someone asked you, do it because it's something you
You
believe
want to
in
do. You believe
and
in,
you've
yeah.
done your research. So that was the first thing that, you know, just standing up for a cause that he taught us to make sure we weren't being influenced by other people. It was something that we really believed in.
I got you. I got you.
Yeah.
I got to ask you this, G. So when you were at Carolina, obviously Michael, Sam, Brad Daugherty, Kenny Smith, all those guys were in the NBA by that time. Did they come back and hoop with you guys in the summertime?
Oh, got a funny story. So I think it was my so Mike used to come back and play. So he came back our freshman year. And so the rules, the pros call when the pros come back to the gym, they set the rules.
Okay.
So this was the summer going into my sophomore year. So my roommate, Kenny Harris, bought I don't know if they were the ones or the twos, the black and red ones, right?
That's the ones. Yeah, that's the ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he bought those. And he came on the court with them, and Mike saw him wearing them. Mike told him, he said, look, if you want to play, you're gonna go take those shoes off. He
Why?
was like, what? He's like, why are you making me take the shoes off? Mike was like, you don't get enough playing time to wear my shoes.
You
Hey,
don't get
he
enough
would
playing time to
hey,
wear his shoes. You got to get a certain
he
amount of minutes.
he would not
Oh.
let him play in those shoes. And back then those shoes might have been $110.
Oh man. Now,
That's a
G,
lot of
look,
money.
look. I know, Mike. Hey, I'm gonna lean over so folks can see that picture I got in the background. That's me, Gordon Jordan, when I was with the Atlanta Hawks. I believe that's the 1997 season. So I kind of
Uh,
know how he is. I kind of know how he is, G, from playing against him. But damn,
you
I didn't
didn't,
know he was
yeah,
that cold.
hey, you didn't ask him to sign that picture,
No,
did
I
you?
didn't ask him to sign him. I didn't. But I will say this. I've been taking some Jordan shoes, a jersey, and some other stuff to the goddamn All-Star weekend for 10 damn years, trying to hope I run into him to get him to sign something. Because when he retired, I'll never forget this, 1988-98 season, when he retired from the Bulls, my wife used to always tell me, you're getting everybody's autograph, you need to get Michael to sign something. Hell, I didn't know he was going to abruptly retire like that. So I was like, oh, I got time, I got time. And then when he came to Atlanta the last time in 98. The Omni had just been torn down. They were building a new arena, so we were playing in the Georgia Dome.
Yeah,
We had 63,000 people, George, at a regular season NBA basketball game because it was the last time that Mike was coming to Atlanta. And he never disappointed, man. I wear a lot of Jordan gear because I just respect the guy, man. I remember the first time I played against him my rookie year when I was with the Rockets. He was on me like white on rice, man. Like somebody told him I said something about him, and I asked him, I said, damn, why you guarding me so tight, man? And he looked me dead in the eye, G, and he told me, he said, I just want you to know why I'm considered the best. And I said, damn, man, because most of the time I play against superstars, they would take it easy because I wasn't drafted number 12 overall like you were, G. I made the league as a free agent, so they was like, oh, this guy ain't nobody. So after I
yeah.
knocked down a couple of shots, they would kind of pay attention to me. But right out of the gate, man, he was guarding me like I was Joe Dumars or Reggie Miller or some damn body. And I just always had respect for him, man, because whenever you spent your money to buy a ticket to see him play, he would never disappoint. He was trying to kill everybody out there on the court. So
Hey, L, you was gonna talk shit to him if you hit a bucket on him.
no, I wasn't. I wasn't messing with his ass. Come on, G. And I hit some buckets on it, but I sure the hell wasn't gonna say nothing to piss him off. I'll tell you, this is my favorite Michael Jordan story, George. I get a steal, and I'm going down the right side of the court, but I can see him in my peripheral vision coming down the left side. And the whole time, G, all I can think of is I'm gonna dunk on it because if I dunk on Mike, I'm gonna be all over Sports Center. That's all
Yeah,
I could think about. So I went to the hole hard as hell. And I planted so hard, I couldn't get the lift that I wanted. And when I went to dunk, I threw the ball over the rim to the other side. It went all the way out of bounds into the stands. So he looked at me and said, "Man, what are you doing?" I was going to let you go. I said, and I was going to dunk on your ass. That's the only time I've ever said anything to him. And he just kind of looked at me, and I was like, "Come on, L, you blew your moment, man." And that was my moment, G. But I got to say, I always played good against the Bulls. And I just always prayed, man. This is the honest to God truth, ladies and gentlemen. I would just say to myself, Lord, please don't let this man embarrass me with my mother watching. Because Mike, you know, G, he was that cold. And I'm pretty sure when
Yeah,
y'all
he
played
was.
pickup, I'm pretty sure he didn't take it easy on you guys because y'all were college kids. He he
Man, he
he was
came.
a
He
competitor,
would.
man.
Yeah, he would come back and he would take nothing but walk-ons and guys who didn't get any playing time.
That's what I
And he
hear.
would run
Yeah.
and he would run the court. He wouldn't.
Yeah.
We beat him one time.
Yeah. Yeah. I
We
heard
beat
he
him
was
one
like that
time.
even when he was in the NBA. Yeah, I heard he used to play with the second group a lot. Like I said, man,
Yeah.
I got the ultimate respect for Mike, man. I just do because he always delivered, man. He never took no days off. He didn't care who the hell you were. He was gonna try to give you the business, man. And not only that, the reason I consider him to be the best, George, is because he was gonna get his 30, but then he was gonna lock you down and you couldn't get your 20. And man, that's
Right.
you played the game. That's hard to do to be the best offensive player and the best defensive player on the floor at the same time. That's what separates him from everybody else, in my opinion.
Yeah, guys don't want to take that matchup. None of the so-called superstars
Yeah,
are
you weren't
taking are
you
taking
weren't
that
bringing a
challenge.
side piece to that game, G. That's for damn
Nah.
sure. You knew you might get embarrassed. I think we got about 2 minutes left, G. I hope so. And wrapping up, man, just give me your prediction on Duke Carolina for the 262nd time. And don't be no homer and just tell me Carolina because you went there. I want to know what you really think.
Man, I really think that we don't have we don't have enough big presence that can guard the 7-footer at Duke. I can't remember the kid's
Cooper
name.
Flag. Yep.
Yeah, we're probably going to have to put the freshman Powell on Cooper Flag or Trimble, and Trimble is going to give up almost 2 feet on him.
Yeah.
So this year, unless RJ scores 60, I don't I don't see it happening.
I hear you.
I
I
don't
hear
see it
you.
happening. Duke is always a tough place to go into and get a win, even if you're at full strength and you know, but they have a solid team this year. They did a great job of going into the transfer portal,
Yeah.
picking up some older players, and we just don't have the typical North Carolina team this
Squad.
year to
No, I
go
hear
in
you.
there and get a win.
Are you
Yeah.
going to the game? Do alumni usually come back for this one?
Yeah, but at Duke, it's a small arena. All the players are trying to get their parents and family in the game. So I don't I don't put the pressure on them to leave a ticket for me.
I hear you. Yeah. Yeah. Well, shoot, George, man, I want to thank you for joining me, man. Like I said, man, you always been a cool brother. It was an honor to be your teammate, and I gotta admit, man, I'm jealous, man, because going to a school like North Carolina is on every kid's dream list, and you were able to fulfill that dream.